Hello traders, in this video we're going to be taking a look at volume profile. Now this is a very important aspect of my own trading, as with almost every video I do release, and it is something that I believe that every trader should have within their toolset to be able to really understand where the value within the market is and to be able to understand those key support and resistance levels. It's massively important, okay? If you can understand where the volume is on the chart, then you can understand where the money is positioned. And if you can understand where the money is positioned, where the people are trading the assets, then you can take trades with or against them depending on what is your strategy in order to enter trades and find good take profit levels. Okay, so we're going to go over some of the main types of volume profile that you can get just from a TradingView chart, what they mean and how you can use them in your trading. Okay, so volume profile. Volume is a very important part of trading. It can help you to identify major support and resistance levels and to understand what fair price of an asset is. It can also help you to identify where imbalances are within the market. So what we see on the volume profile, and this is an example of it here on the right hand side. Okay, so this displays your trading activity over a specified time period at specified price levels. So whereas often on TradingView, if you load up a chart, you'll see a volume profile at the bottom that looks something like this. This standard volume indicator shows the volume for each time period or candle on your x-axis. Okay, so this bottom axis being your x-axis. Every bit of volume here is priced per candle, basically. Okay, so every single candle that you're looking at, every period of time, this totals up the amount of volume within that candle, and it gives you an idea of the volume that has traded throughout history. Now the volume profile goes here on your y-axis, and this shows the volume for each price or pip level. So what you're looking at here on your y-axis is, as you're scrolling through, you can see the price changing on the right hand side here, and this volume is basically saying throughout this entire period of time that we have on this chart, this is how much volume has traded at this certain price. So you can see if we go up here to $60,578, you can see the amount of volume that has been traded within that area. And if you do look up in the corner up here, where this is we'll go over this indicator in just a moment, but it will tell you the volume there, and we can see that we've had 1,146,000 Bitcoin bought and 1,437,000 Bitcoin sold. Okay, and again, that can go through all of the price here on the right hand side. So that really is just a basic overview of what the volume profile is. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the main terminology of this. Okay, so with any volume profile, and again we're going to go over these in just a moment, but with any volume profile you have specific terminology and levels of significance within there. The most important of them all is your point of control, or your POC. So if you see me ever talking about a POC or a point of control, this is what I'm talking about. This is the single price that has had the most volume for the time period that you have chosen. In this instance, looking at this whole chart, this area here at $57,263 is where the most volume has been traded at that price. Okay, so this is naturally going to be a very important support and resistance level. You know there are going to be traders that have positions at that price, and you know there are a lot of transactions taking place at that price of the chart. Now the second most important areas for me are these value area high and these value area low. Okay, and what this shows you is this is based on the concept that a market is always trying to find balance. Okay, and if it's trying to find balance, then it wants to be within fair price. So this value area aims to give you an idea of where that fair price is. Whether if you're going to see moves outside of fair price, then you can expect an attempt to move back into it to get that fair price and for the balance to be restored within the market. So on default, this is showing you very simply 70% of all total volume. So this is the price area in which 70% of all volume has taken place. Anything outside of this is that remaining 30% that is outside of value area. Again, we can go over in just a second how you can change those levels up, but that's the very basic calculation for this. Okay, so within that you have your value area high. Now that is the highest area value, obviously, within the chart, and you have your value area low, so the lowest accepted area of value within the chart or the period of time that you're looking at. The other important factors on this are your high volume nodes. Okay, so you can see with this profile on the right hand side how you have these spikes. Okay, so you can see a spike in volume here, obviously a big spike at your point of control, spike in volume here, and these little spikes in volume that are higher up. Now these are your high volume nodes. These show that although it's not a point of control, there is significant interest in this area. So we can look down within this range. You can see that there was significant interest around that $54,367 area. Okay. Then you have your low volume nodes, and this is showing you what I was talking about possible imbalances within the chart. So this is an area where price has moved through very quickly without much interest in trading within that zone. Price moved through very quickly and had very little volume within that area. So this is signified here by these voids that you see in price, okay, low volume nodes. And what you can expect is if price was to come up into one of these low volume nodes, you could quite easily expect price to, let's say price comes up here, into your high volume node, price can very easily move all the way through it because there's very little, in this instance, very little resistance. Obviously, if you're coming out to it as looking at it as support, which you were back here, you see price moving down very quickly through that low volume node with very little resistance or support on the way up or down. And then finally, you've got your profile high and your profile low. Now that's just very simply the high and the low of the profile. So again, on this instance, we're looking at this whole chart, and this is the high of the chart and this is the low of the chart. Okay, so that's the main terminology there. So moving on, we're going to look at the three main types of volume profile. Okay, so what we have been looking at so far on this right hand side is your visible range, or VPVR. So this takes volume from all visible data on the chart, and it will move when you zoom in or out of the chart itself. Okay, so I'm going to now move this chart. We're going to move it over, and you can see how this chart updates, and you can see how the value area has moved. I can zoom out of this chart, and once again you can see how your value area is moving and your point of control is moving. Now that can be useful because if you can set your chart to basically a region that you are looking to trade, and you can have it set at a point in which you're looking at, then you know basically what all of the data that's within that whole chart. The way this becomes then a little bit more problematic is that if you're constantly moving your chart and you're zooming in and out, your point of control, your value areas, your high, your low volume nodes are going to be constantly changing, okay, because you're taking in different amounts of data. So this is where the second type of volume profile becomes very handy, okay? So I'll just actually show you, first of all, to get the visible range VPVR on TradingView. You would click on indicators, okay? So you can see here you have favorites, my scripts built in. What you want to do is go to built-ins. You want to go to volume profile, and you want to click your visible range. Okay, so if I click my visible range, what this does is it gives me this volume profile on the side. Now that looks a little bit different to the one that I've just shown you here. There's a lot less bars, and again, we'll cover that in just a second on how you can adjust this to suit your own chart and your own trading strategy. Okay, so that's how you would find the VPVR, or the visible range, by going into your indicators, built-ins, volume profile, and here it is at the bottom. The second one we were just mentioning is your fixed range. Okay, so that is here. I have it starred, favorited. Again, you can just search fixed range and it will show up within the built-in section of the chart. Okay, so then we can have a look at the fixed range. We can hide this and we can show a fixed range. Let's take a look at it from, say, our high down to our low. And once again, this gives you a volume profile of all of this data. Now, the good thing about this, you move it around on the chart and it doesn't change, okay? Stays the same. You can zoom in, stays there. You can move around, you can have a look at all the information and it remains the same. Now, there is also another way that you can access this same thing within TradingView. So on your left hand side, there will be a fixed range volume profile here. Now, this is slightly different. Okay, you can see again how this shows up on the chart with less kind of rows going across. And again, we'll go over that in just a second on how you can set this. So two ways in which you can access this, either by going through to your indicators, clicking on built-ins and looking at your fixed range, or clicking on the left-hand side over here and looking at your fixed range volume profile just here as well. Okay, so I have this set on my favorites toolbar at the top. Now, the third one is your session volume, so your VPSV. This takes volume from each trading session or day, and it will reset every day and will change slightly when you zoom in or out. Okay, so we can again go into your indicators, go to your built-ins, volume profile, and click session volume or session volume HD. Now, session volume HD is the one that I would choose. Okay, it gives you more data, and you can see here this loads automatically onto the chart, and you can see every single day in this instance on this Bitcoin chart price. The profile itself has updated. Now, what I mean about this changing slightly is if you do start zooming in, okay, because this is HD, it's always giving you as much data as possible. This does move slightly, so you do find that your points of control, your value areas, can move slightly when you zoom in and out of the chart here. But again, what this gives you is your point of control, your value area, your high and your low volume nodes, and your full profile for every single day of trading. Okay, so those are the three main types of volume profile. So if we go back onto a 4 hour, I've been moving the chart around a lot. So let's hope that if I go back to this, then the next little bit of text will show up quite clearly. Okay, here we go. So main calculations. What I'm going to do is just bring back on the visible range, just as our example. And this will be the same throughout any of them. So if you click on your fixed range, we can have a look at these two. But let's first of all have a look at the main calculations for our visible range or for any of the volume profile. So when you double click on the profile itself, or again on the right hand side here, you'll be given these options. Okay, so you have your rows layout. Now that is chosen between the number of rows or the number of ticks. Okay, so number of rows or ticks per row. Basically the number being this, just being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so and so on. And your ticks being each little increment in price. So you can see here it's basically every little cent is 1 tick on this chart. So often with something like this, you'd want to avoid ticks because it would just give you so much data that sometimes it just will not load. Okay, so there are some assets and some charts that you can look at that will give you like 50-cent increments on a tick, so you can be able to set it like that. But I would recommend for anyone starting out, just choose number of rows, and realistically you want to be going over what the default is. So you see here the next row, the next section here being your row size. Now TradingView will give you 24 as default, but for me that doesn't really give me a lot of information. Okay, we can look at this and it's just big areas that you're looking at. Okay, that's a massive zone of price. You're looking from 61,700 all the way down to 60,700. It's like $1,000 worth of price there. So I like to again click on this, and I'd say at least over 100. So your 100 kind of takes you down a bit more. The way I like to have this set up as standard is around that 200 area. 200 for me gives a really nice balance of not having so much data that it takes forever to load, but it's enough that you can really see those high volume nodes clearly. You can see your point of control and your value area cleanly on the chart. So 200 ticks, a good starting point. But again, it's your own personal preference on what you would like to use when you are choosing the settings on this. Okay, so we'll go back onto the next one, and we're looking at volume. So you can choose either your up down, which is your buy and sell volume, or your total volume, which would change this to just one color. So if we change it to total, you can see one color is just totaling up the buys and the sells within that and just shows you pure volume. What the up and down shows you is your buy and sell. So you can see here the value up area up, your blue being all the buy volume within that price, and your value area down being your selling volume within that certain price. Okay, and again, you can change the colors or do whatever you want with all of this. And finally, you have your value area volume. So again, this will be set as 70 as default. For me personally, I use 68. Okay, and the reason for this is it just removes a little bit of noise from the edge of your chart. Okay, so what you'll often find, and I'm sure anyone who is who has been trading for a while is aware that sometimes you get front run on levels quite a lot. So if you're looking at a value area and say, for example, price came up to the value area high and you wanted to take a short, if you're looking at 70, what you get from this is quite a bit of data above. Now 68 for me just avoids the getting front run on things. You're looking at this as an area. Okay, so to take away 1% from either side or 2% in total of the price that you're looking at just narrows down that area that you're looking at and just can help you to remove a little bit of that extra noise around the edge. So it just, for me personally, helps me to gain a little bit of an edge over the rest of the market that may be using 70 and maybe getting front run quite often if they are trading these value areas. So those are the main calculations. Okay. And finally, we will look at some of our trading strategies. So again, anyone within the crew section, we do have specific playbook strategies, trading strategies for this. It's the 80% setup, the poor value area, single prints, session, naked point of controls, and value area. Okay, these are some of the main trading strategies within our crew section. But we'll give a few other examples, okay, of just how you can use this with your trading. Okay, so we've just got a couple of charts here. So here is a chart with a fixed range volume profile from the 14th of October up until the 18th of November. Now you can see as you draw this, so let me just do it on the chart. Let me go to indicators, let me go built-ins, volume profile, fixed range. And the way that you want to be pulling a fixed range like this is to look at a range. Okay, it's a fixed range. You want to be looking at either a range or a trend. So I'm looking at this, basically this whole area here on the chart as being a range for Bitcoin. You can see the sideways price action with lows, highs, going fairly sideways. So what I'm looking at, pulling up your fixed range, basically at this whole area. Now you can see all of this price action coming in and out of your point of control, acting as the main area of support and resistance. And you can see here your value area acting as resistance before getting those moves back down. And of course your value area low acting as support. What happens here is price attempts to move up outside of value area. You can see volume very thin up at these highs. It moves up outside of value area, gets a rejection, falls back inside. Okay, falls back inside this previous range. And then what happens, which is quite significant here, is you get a move down. You get this chop, which is attempting to hold this point of control. Traders are aware that this is an area of interest on the chart, so traders are trading this level as an area of support. But then importantly, you lose this level, and then what happens, you come back in, you back test it, confirms it as a resistance, and then initiates a downtrend. Okay, so you can see how important that is just from pulling that onto the chart. Okay, so again, we can pull that back up and we can take a look once again at just how important that point of control was. And the great thing about this is when you're looking at the range, okay, so of course anything in hindsight can look good, but you can see even before price moved up out of this area, this was your point of control. So if you're looking at this as a range, okay, we've broken out of the range, maybe we're going on a move up. No, we're back inside the range. Here's support. If you lose support, you can see a move down from that. So that's a really nice clean example on this chart, okay? Secondly, we have another example here, and this is showing you, oh, the other thing I can do on this, bear with me 1 second, is you can see from your visible range how these two line up, okay? So this gives you really good confluence. So no matter what kind of tool you like, you can see here both our fixed range that we have chosen the start point as this being our range, and our visible range, because this is the area of the chart that we're looking at, have given us the same, pretty much the same value as our point of control. So there's really nice confluence between the two indicators there that we're using. Okay, so whether you're using the fixed range or whether you're using the visible range, this gives really good confluence between that. And of course, what we can see now is this will, or you would imagine, if price was to move up, that would be an area that you would look to take profit on any long positions, or possibly take a short position back down to what could be a high volume node lower down. And you could expect, quite simply, because we're looking at all of this data here, if price can see a move up to this area, we have a low volume node within this region, which you would say has a higher probability of price being able to move through that without too much resistance until it gets to this point of control, and then could see a retrace. Okay, so that's just one way in which you could look at this and say, okay, here's a strategy that I would be looking to trade. The other interesting thing here is how is price holding, or how price is holding at this value area. Okay, so with all the data that we have on the chart, again, we can pull this back and we can look at, okay, here's where basically our larger range started. We can pull that all the way across to where we are now. You can see where price is currently holding inside this value area. And then if price came up, you could see any movement outside of value area. You'd then be looking for, again, this point of control to the downside to act as support. So that's just one example. Hopefully that's not too complicated, and hopefully it does make sense to everyone. But I just want to show one other example here of the session profile and how you can use that. So this is the session profile from today. So again, we can go back through previous days and we can just look very, very quickly at how it acts as support and resistance throughout the day. Okay, so you can see recently Bitcoin had this move outside of value area, came into its point of control, moved down, held the value area, broke up, resistance here at value area high, support at point of control, resistance value area high, support at point of control, attempts to break out, can't do that, creates an imbalance in the chart, and then actually at the moment seems to have gone below that point of control, back tested it now as resistance, which could therefore bring you back down to the value area low, if, okay, of course it can't reclaim this and go higher. And we can move back through previous days. Again, you can see the point of control consistently acting as support and resistance throughout the day. Again here, you can see how it was acting as support and resistance throughout the day. And again, you can go back and you can just take a look at how this shows up on the chart. So again, for this session volume, you very simply just go on to, we can remove it here, very simply go onto your indicators, go to built-ins, go to volume profile, click session volume HD, and it will load that up for you as default. And again, the same with the other volume profile. What you can do is choose your value area settings and everything else within that. However, you can't change the tick size and things on this just because it moves naturally for where you are on the chart. The other thing I will have a look at is session volume non-HD, which is the other option that we have there. This one. And on this one, you can then choose. Okay, so if you're using session volume and it's not the HD version, you can then choose the number of ticks or rows that you want. So just by double clicking, you can set that at 68% value area. You can choose 100 rows, or you can choose 100 ticks, and you can set that however you like on the chart. And then for this one, it won't actually move. So this is kind of set. Okay. So session volume HD will move just to give you the best profile as you zoom in and out of the chart. And then session volume as normal will just kind of stay there. That's actually a new one on TradingView. So yeah, that's a little bit of extra stuff that I've just noticed as I'm recording this. So yeah, that's everything that I do want to cover on this video. Again, I hope you enjoyed it. Please do click the like, click subscribe. If you found it useful, please do comment below. If there is anything that you would like to suggest or recommend, or anything I could do to improve these videos, then once again, please do write below in the comments section, and I would welcome any feedback on this. So yeah, thank you very much. I will catch everyone in the next video, and I hope you have a great day. Cheers. Bye.